No demonstration at all in the streets. No, no one against us. Against me for what? Because I am not president.
But then...
They love me, all my people with me. They love me all.
He said he thought outside powers wanted to recolonize Libya, and he vowed to fight off any invaders alongside the Libyan people. Our day began high over the Libyan capital, Tripoli.
Colonel Gaddafi, the President of the United States, the leaders of Britain and other leaders are calling on you to step down, to leave Libya, to leave your position of power. Will you do that? But if they do love you...
They will die to protect me and my people.
If you say they do love you, then why are they capturing Benghazi and they say they're against you there? Why are they in Zawiya?
It is a guide. It is guide, not my people. It is guide. Guide, yes.
Who would leave his homeland? Why do I leave my homeland? Why do I leave Libya?
They say that they've done it because you have ordered force against your people, shooting of protesters.
This is lying, 100%.
They say that you ordered air attacks against people, against civilians, and helicopter gunships. Your own pilots, Air Force pilots, at least 2, have defected, saying that they did not want to carry out orders against the people. Did you give such orders?
The
terrorists were directed to the ammunition storage to take the weapons and distribute it amongst themselves. So the orders were given to strike these places with planes, so the weapons don't get in the hands of the terrorists.
The international community is concerned about stockpiles of mustard gas or other kind of chemical weapons. Would you ever use those?
But we say in the West that people should have certain things on their tombstone, certain words on their tombstone. What do you think most people would want to see on Muammar Gaddafi's tombstone? Gaddafi an angel or Gaddafi a villain?
ماذا تريد أن يكتب عنك؟
لا ما هو أسمع كلام السؤال الآخر.
لا يعني قصده سيدي يعني قصدي بعد 100 سنين ماذا تريد أن يكتب عنك سيدي بعد 100 سنين؟
إيه ما هو قاله بعض الكلمات.
لا ما هو سيدي ما نبيش نقول هذا هو أنت يقدر يقدر
لا يعني شو أنا طبعا أنا اللي عملت من أجل الآخرين.
That I worked for the others, to give service to the others. That's the last question.
So Gaddafi,
nothing for myself.
Gaddafi the servant. Could I finish on this note? And I thank you for
one last question.
One last question. For a man who was regarded by many people in the West as a fearsome person and a danger to peace and democracy, how do you describe yourself to people who say that? Were we wrong about you?
طبعا بقول له أنا مسامحهم لأن كانوا جهلة.
I forgive them. They were ignorant.
Thank you. That's very generous. That's very generous of you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
I hope you're fine where you are. I hope you are doing okay. That's my wish for you. I want you to be okay where you are. Yeah. Now, after you feeling okay, I want us to discuss about a country in Northern Africa, a country that has been written even in the holy books, in the holy Christian Bible. It's also in the books of Judaism. Judaism is a religion in Israel. This specific country has been written also in the holy book of Quran. It's there in these 3 books. Perhaps it exists in other holy books. Okay. The country I'm speaking about is the 4th largest country in Africa. 4th largest country in Africa, and it is the 16th largest country in the whole world. this country is mainly a desert, and this country is mostly inhabited to the north by the Arabs, depending with whom you ask. To Africans, he was like a saint. He was like somebody who came to rescue Africans because he had these very powerful revolutionary ideas. And one of these ideas was to build a united Africa, Africa to be a one country, United States of Africa. And he wanted the whole of Africa to use a single currency. During his reign, the price of oil in Libya was very low. It was almost 15 shillings per liter. According to my research, it was 15 shillings per liter during the reign of Muammar Gaddafi, because we also had oil in that country. It was so unfortunate that in the year 2011, Muammar Gaddafi was able to be assassinated. He was terminated by the West. The West, as you know what the West does best, they came, they fueled some conflict in Libya, and Muammar Gaddafi was killed by some opposition, and he died, yes. However, Muammar Gaddafi left some very, very impactful legacy. He left a very great legacy, something that makes us remember him up to date. So, without further ado, I want us to continue watching this video in this interview he's having with this gentleman, and then I'll be able to give you my thoughts towards the end of the video, where we will have a deep, critical analysis.
Could you help me? What is the correct way for me to address you? Should I call you leader or brother leader? What is the most appropriate way?
As you like, I'm free.
When I told people that I was going to be able to interview you, they were intrigued. They are fascinated by yourself because you appear to have changed recently from the sort of person they were used to reading about and seeing on television to a different kind of Muammar Gaddafi. Why do we think that you have changed? But is there anything in particular that prompted you to go from a person who was at one point regarded as a dangerous person?
طبعا أنا قايم بثورة عندها طروحات عالمية وساهمت في حركات التحرير مساهمة فعالة، والدولة المستعمرة لا تريد هذا طبعا، عشان كذا صوروني بهذه الصورة. أنا يعني مبادئي ما تغيرتش عنها.
So when many people throughout the Western world in particular regarded you as a sponsor of terrorism, is that no longer the case?
طبعا الغرب يعتبر حركات التحرير حركات إرهاب، عشان كذا بتهموني بنأيد الإرهاب لأني أنا بنأيد حركة التحرر.
What about Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden? Because you have spoken out very firmly against Osama bin Laden. In fact, you were the first leader to call for his arrest.
لا يعني هذه جماعة إرهابية يعني إحنا نتفق معها إطلاقا.
What's the difference between a terrorist group and the liberation movement in your eyes?
والله المناضل اللي عند أرض محتلة يريد يحررها، أما الإرهابي الذي يريد أن يقتل الناس وأحيانا ما يكونش عنده برنامج عنده خطة.
So what about Al-Qaeda?
أعتقد الأسلوب الذي اتخذه هؤلاء الناس هو يعني زوبعة في فنجان، ما عندهاش مبررات البقاء يعني.
So was September the 11th a storm in a teacup?
طبعا هي إحدى العمليات الإرهابية يعني.
Do you have any idea of what should be done to combat terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda?
هو لازم نرد عليهم بالحجج اللي هم تعلوا بها. هم مثلا يتهموا أمريكا بالاعتداء على العالم الإسلامي والهيمنة على العالم الإسلامي والتدخل في شؤونه وقهره، وأن هي بتأيد ذبح الشعب الفلسطيني وتشريده وعدم عودته لأرضه، وزاد أيدهم في حجتهم هذه ما حصل في العراق وفي غزة
Can we go back to whether or not you have changed? Because the impression the world has is that you have softened, you are more capable of living peacefully with the rest of the Western world, for instance?
أنا بقول يعني أنا كنت شديد ضد الاستعمار اللي كان يحتل أفريقيا ويحتل أجزاء كبيرة من كنا نخوض كفاح مسلح، وبالتالي لازم يكون الواحد قوي فعلا في هذا لكن الآن ما عاد في حد يطلب منك سلاح، الآن يطلب منك مساعدات اقتصادية، وبالتالي عاد تغير.
Some of the reasons people think that you have softened your position and that you're no longer as dangerous as people used to say you were is because you have said you have no nuclear program, no weapons of mass destruction, yes, and that you believe that people like bin Laden are not the right kind of people to represent Islam.
طبعا يعني زي البرنامج النووي هذا يعني خضع لمراجعة جادة منا، لأن احنا بديناه من بعد قيام الثورة والعالم تغير
You did have a weapons of mass destruction program.
طبعا كان فيه، ولكن راجعنا ان لقينا هذا غير مجدي، وعدد من يعني كل الدول كانت تتباهى بان هي في هذا الطريق.
So you're no longer fashionable.
طبعا يعني احنا الان ما فيش.
Some cynical commentators have said that one of the reasons that you got rid of your weapons of mass destruction program is because you feared the same fate as Saddam Hussein in Iraq.
لا احنا يعني بدأنا في هذا البرنامج في التخلي عن هذا البرنامج والمفاوضات مع الدول الكبرى بدأت قبل العراق.
Could we talk about Lockerbie, because in the Western world, if the word Lockerbie is mentioned, the name Gaddafi is mentioned. When you hear the word Lockerbie, what do you think?
طبعا هذا الحقيقة يعني ما حد يقبل العمل ضد الأهداف المدنية وإسقاط الطائرات المدنية، وما أعتقد أن فيه دولة بتكون مسؤولة عن عمل زي هذا وتقرر عمل زي هذا.
So you could look the world in the face and say quite honestly that you did not order the Lockerbie attack.
طبعا يعني مش ممكن أي دولة تقوم بعمل مثله.
Do you think that the man accused actually was responsible for that bombing of that plane that killed 270 people, and he was a Libyan intelligence officer?
هو ليس ضابط مخابرات، هو أستاذ في الجامعة، ولو استمر الاستئناف في المحكمة الأوروبية لطلع بريء أكيد.
Do you think he was guilty?
لا أعتقد ذلك يعني لأن يعني المحكمة العدل الدولية نفسها قالت أن هذه محاكمة سياسية.
So how do you feel that Libya and yourself in particular have been linked with that disaster?
طبعا مثل ما قلنا يعني في ذلك الوقت كان أي شيء يعلقوا على ليبيا، لأن ليبيا تقود حركة التحرر. حتى الآن ممكن أشياء يقوموا بها ناس إرهابيين قد لا يكون لهم علاقة ببن لادن، ولكن تنسب على طول لبن لادن.
If Lockerbie had nothing to do with you and Libya, why did you offer so much money in compensation to the families of the victims?
هذه تسوية سلمية لحل المشاكل بيننا وبينهم.
But why did you do it? If Libya wasn't involved and you weren't the person who ordered that bombing, for instance, why did you feel you needed to give money?
لأن احنا يعني في النهاية قبلنا بالحكم الذي صدر رغم أنه حكم غير قانوني، حكم سياسي.
So what do you say as a man, as a human being and as a father, and later you suffered, your own family suffered when the retaliatory attacks occurred in Libya over that other bombing. What do you say to the families of the people who think that you were responsible?
لا احنا عبرنا عن هذا يعني مرارا، يعني هذه مأساة، يعني شيء شنيع جدا يعني. من يؤيد عمل زي هذا لا يمكن. الذي كان واحد مجنون وواحد إرهابي، مأساة حقيقية يعني.
Tell me about Israel time. We talked about your plan for Israel and Palestine.
هذا اقتراح مني أنا اللي ناخذ نصف الكلمة هذه.
The reality is that not going to be as easy as you made it sound to get the Israelis and the Palestinians to stop killing each other the way they are.
إذا أرادوا إنهاء العنف وإنهاء الحرب بينهم، وإذا أرادوا أن يعيشوا اليهود في سلام والفلسطينيين في سلام، جوز أند بالستين، لابد أن يأخذ بهذا الحل. دولة واحدة ديمقراطية منزوعة أسلحة الدمار الشامل مع عودة اللاجئين الفلسطينيين.
Do you seriously believe it would work in your lifetime?
إذا هداهم الله هذا هو الحل.
If they see light from Allah.
I guess I'm wondering how the Jews could see light from Allah. There is a religious problem too, isn't there? A religious difficulty.
إيش هي الصعوبة الدينية؟
That the Jews probably don't believe in Allah.
ولو شو يأثر على الحل هذا؟ هذا مش مربوط بالدين الحل، هذا مربوط بالواقع. يعني في 4 ملايين فلسطيني تم طردهم من أرضهم يجب يعودوا، والأرض تكون لهم جميعا، يعني فلسطين وإسرائيليين. ما الفرق بين إلقاء من يقول إلقاء اليهود في البحر وإلقاء الفلسطينيين في الصحراء؟ زي بعض.
I guess what I'm saying is that if it was just a simple matter of getting these people to think more sensibly about it, why hasn't it happened before?
مو الجيل الحرص القديم هذا يعني جيل رجعي متعصب
On both sides.
لكن الشباب الجديد اعتقد سيقبل بهذا الحل.
So it's up to the young people
نعم
to overcome the stupidity of the old people.
بس حتى ناخذوا على غباء الجيل القديم.
Excepting yourself, of course.
استثناءك أنت سيدي.
Could you tell me how you feel at the moment as we're speaking? The Americans, the coalition forces in Afghanistan have mounted a major military offensive. What would you do about this? Do you see the Taliban, for instance, as freedom fighters or terrorists?
مع أن طالبان ليست خطر، كان يجب عدم محاربتها. كان ممكن يسلموا أفغانستان لطالبان ويكون أمر جيد، لأن طالبان
For the
ليست
Taliban to be the government.
نعم، لأن طالبان ليست القاعدة، طالبان ليست بن لادن.
So they're not terrorists. In your eyes, they're not terrorists.
لا يعني لازم تعلموا ان اللي مع بن لادن والقاعده هم عرب وليسوا عجم وليسوا افغان. طالبان افغان ويريدون ان يحكموا بلادهم بطريقه دينيه، هم احرار في ذلك. زي الفاتيكان بيعملوها زي الفاتيكان. وشو يعني الخطر في هذا؟ وبعدين طالبان ما عندهاش امكانيات باش تغزو امريكا وتغزو اوروبا. الذي ربط طالبان طالبان أو أفغانستان بالقاعدة هم الغرب والأمريكان. العلاقة صنعوها الأمريكان والدول الحليفة لأمريكا الإسلامية في العالم الإسلامي.
Do you believe America is a dangerous nation where world peace is concerned? And do you feel any better about America since Obama has been elected president?
طبعا يعني أوباما حاجة استثنائية في ذلك الشك، لكن أمريكا هي أمريكا. يعني أوباما يعني حده الأقصى 8 سنوات.
But do you think he should stay forever?
يا ريت.
Why do you think he is an exception?
يعني الطرح اللي يطرح فيه وبين نتيجة ثقافته، ويبدو لجنس أنه يعني أفريقي وأنه أسود.
So you think his Kenyan descent is important?
طبعا كيف، هو جذوره حتى عربية وإسلامية، بالتالي هو يعني عقلية مختلفة عن عقلية اليانكيين اللي قبل.
A lot of Yankees and a lot of Americans generally would be very upset to be reminded that he has Islamic roots.
ليش شوف هم عنصريين.
Could you work with the man?
طبعا.
Could you imagine him coming to your country?
مش ضروري، إذا جاء شيء جيد، لكن ليس مش ضروري يعني. أنا لا أطلب منه هذا، لكن لو حصل شيء جيد.
Could I ask you about democracy, because you use the word, but to people in the West, Libya is not democratic. They see you as an autocrat, almost an absolute monarch. I mean, how can you convince people in the West that your idea of democracy, which is very different from theirs, is still democracy? No political parties, no opposition.
اي طبعا هم عندهم الاحزاب تحكم، واحنا عندنا الشعب يحكم. هم يجوا يعني الحل هم انهم يجوا يشوفوا ليبيا.
Do you, leader, do you have the final say? Was it you, for instance, that decided to get rid of the weapons of mass destruction?
لا يعني أنا طبعا عندي تأثير معنوي أكيد لأني يعني قائد الثورة والثورة هي اللي خلقت سلطة الشعب وخلق.
So what about the people who see you as a dictator? Is that a word that you will not tolerate?
طبعا يعني عشان أولا يعني هذا اللي يقولها واحد جاهل غبي.
But so you think that you know better than anybody how the people think and what the people want?
لا هو الشعب لا يعني هو الشعب الآن في السلطة ويريد السلطة والكلام هذا اللي يقال لا يقال من الشعب. إذا كان حد يقول كلام مثل هذا واحد يريد يحكم الشعب.
Will there be a Gaddafi dynasty? You have sons. Is it automatic that one of your sons will succeed you? You have said that when you go, whether you stop being the leader or, unfortunately, you pass on, that the people would all be president.
يعني هي السلطة للشعب في النهاية السلطة للشعب اللي يحكم الشعب الليبي وبالتالي منتهية كل الخيارات الأخرى.
How do you find out what the people want?
هو الشعب الآن يقول هذا ويمارس السلطة. ممكن تكون تطرح خيارات أخرى لكنها بديل لسلطة الشعب. الشعب حر يعني الشعب.
So it wouldn't really upset you if they said we don't like the Gaddafi system?
لا ما هو أولا يعني أنا ال40 سنة هي ما نحكمش مانيش في السلطة يعني السلطة للشعب. ما فيش حاجة بياخذوها مني أو بيزيدوها لي.
Interestingly enough, I'm exactly the same age as you. And in 1969, when you had your bloodless coup, I started in journalism, which is a strange coincidence. And I also had a Volkswagen car like your Beetle. But
it's very, very wonderful listening to Gaddafi speaking. The part that has touched me the most is when he said he was a servant for the people. He was not working for himself. He was working for the Africans, and we have evidence to support that, you know. And Gaddafi also said that the West has tried and has worked hard to make sure that they paint him in a bad image because he was going against them, you know. And you can realize that the West has always wanted to force their influence on other countries, and these other countries include Arab countries. We can see the issue, the instability in Afghanistan. We can see the instability till date in Iraq. We can see the instability in nations such as Iran. You know, um, Arab nations are standing up front and going against this. Muammar Gaddafi was just this giant nail that popped out. You know, as it being said, the nail that pops out gets hammered, and Muammar Gaddafi was hammered by the West. You know, we cannot overlook the things that Gaddafi did. You know, watching this video, I'm even thinking he was alive. You know, I'm not saying that he never did wrong things. As humans, even without knowing him personally, we are capable of doing wrong. But as you can see, the West has a way of creating misinformation and making your own people hate you. Once they make your own people hate you, they don't come and attack you themselves. They force your people to attack you and fight you. And that is what happens with Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi was attacked by his own people who were influenced by the West. It was in the reign of Obama that we saw Muammar Gaddafi being killed. Obama and the NATO killed Muammar Gaddafi, and they killed Muammar Gaddafi in an African soil, which is very wrong. Again, I would advise you to, if you have not watched, I did a video with Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. She was explaining how they tried to defend Muammar Gaddafi from death. You know, it is not right to come and cause crime in an African soil by somebody who is not an African. The NATO and the West came and killed Gaddafi in an African soil. That was diplomatically wrong. If it were the vice versa, it would have caused chaos, lots of chaos, if it were the opposite, you know. Harikana Chimbori Kwao explained that they tried to save Muammar Gaddafi, but the NATO and the West, the USA, Obama, Lenin Strait, were fast. They were quick. They came and they did their own things, you know. It's enjoyable, and through this interview, we can be able to see the side of Muammar Gaddafi that the West don't want us to see. Such kind of videos are very rare.
After watching this interview where Muammar Gaddafi was able to be so eloquent and he was able to be so respectful even to this white gentleman, what we need to know is to discuss who is this Muammar Gaddafi, because the interview was not able to tell enough. Here's what I have for you in this critical analysis. Now, Muammar Gaddafi, or Muammar al-Gaddafi, Ka with Q, you know, is the former leader of Libya. He left a complex and lasting impact on the people of Africa as a whole, both during his rule and beyond. You know, his influence extended beyond the borders of Libya. He shaped the socio-political landscape of the entire continent. Gaddafi's significance to African systems stems from his Pan-African vision, economic initiative, and controversial leadership style. Gaddafi was not afraid of the West. He really wasn't afraid of the West. And here is something to prove that he wasn't really not afraid of the West. Watch this. Firstly, Gaddafi's Pan-African vision aimed to unite African nations under a single government, advocating for the creation of a United States of Africa. The vision sought to promote African unity, sovereignty, and independence from Western influence. Gaddafi championed initiatives such as the African Union and the African Investment Bank to foster economic cooperation and development among African nations. His efforts to empower Africa on the global stage were evident in his calls for the establishment of a single African currency and the formation of a unified African military force. He wanted Africa to come together in all dimensions, in all aspects, be it the monetary side, the border side, the military side. So the West kind of felt he was going to be a threat. Yeah, he was going to be a threat. Now, Africa was not going to be a place where a playground for the West. Look at West Africa. West Africa is a playground for France. West Africa is a playground for Russia. It's as if people don't live there, but people live there. I don't need even to go far up to West Africa. Here in my own country, Kenya, we are really, really not independent. People really, really don't understand that we have soft colonialism. What we recognize is hard colonialism, but we have soft colonialism. Soft colonialism is when the missionary came, fake missionaries. We had the genuine missionaries. Fake missionary came, they lied to Africans, and then they took information that they carried from Africa. They took it back to England, and they discussed the information with Queen Victoria. And Queen Victoria signed papers that allowed the people of Britain, not just people, the military of Britain, to come to Africa for a conquest. So they first came as missionaries, soft colonizers, and then they came as hard colonizers, which was now hard colonialism. We didn't learn from that. We didn't learn from that, you know. Gaddafi was able to see all this. He would never entertain any form of colonialism, be it hard or soft. That is according to Muammar Gaddafi. And that's according to how I look at things as well. You know, how I look at things as an African is not much different from how you African, looks at things. You know, we share the same struggles. Gaddafi was able to share the same struggles with us as well, you know. So, one of Gaddafi's most significant contribution to Africa was his role in in funding infrastructure projects and providing financial assistance to various African nations. Now, through the Libyan Arab African Investment Company, LAAIC, Gaddafi invested billions of dollars in projects ranging from telecommunication to agriculture across the continent. For example, Muammar Gaddafi and his government funded the construction of the great man-made river in Libya, which provided irrigation for agriculture and access to clean water for millions of people. Additionally, Gaddafi financial support helped fund development projects in countries like Chad, Mali, and Zimbabwe. He came all the way down up to Zimbabwe, contributing to their economic growth and development. There's these rumors that goes around that the old man sold out Gaddafi. I don't want to call the name, but there's a rumors that goes that way. I highly recommend you watch the video where the old man is able to give his side of the story. It's good to have a full picture, not half the picture. In the totality of reality, everything will make sense one day. In the totality of reality. Right now, we just have the pieces. Let's bring all the pieces together. And let's look at the whole image together. We will appreciate what we have. It's hard to appreciate a piece, but it's not hard to appreciate a whole when now you can see the whole thing. And that is how Gaddafi was looking at things. He did not see a single Africa. He saw a united Africa, one country, one economy, one bank, easy hospitalization, easy health, easy education, easy and quality education. This man was a revolutionary. But in Africa, anytime a man stands, anytime any figure stands up for the fight, for the liberation of Africans, you know what happens. I don't need to call it here. You know what happens. Anytime that happens, you know what happens. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? And the worst part is the people who do these things are fellow Africans. Fellow Africans who are having very small stereotypes, who are having very small self-esteem, if it can be measured. Very low, very, very low. Small, actually, not even low, small. An African is fighting a fellow African to favor another person who is not an African. A brother once said that a brother is not somebody we share the same skin. Is not somebody that we share the same hair. A brother is somebody that we share the same heart. The same heart. The heart of humanity. Gaddafi was not like all other Africans. He was an Arab. He's an Arab. Phenotypically, physically, he's an Arab. He came all the way to Zimbabwe to help the people of Zimbabwe. Even here in Kenya, I normally love using my country as an example as well. I don't like to leave it out. There is an oil company that rose back then. It was called Oil Libya. Oil Libya was an investment of Gaddafi in Kenya. Oil Libya. After Gaddafi died, things didn't go well, and the company changed its name. Now it's called Ola Energy. Ola Energy is an investment of Gaddafi. When I see Ola Energy, I see Gaddafi. And I see Oil Libya. I see there was a great man who stood. Everyone is not perfect. We ain't perfect. Humans, we ain't perfect. We are so far from perfect. But with that imperfection that we have, we always strive for perfection. With time, we strive for it and we try to get it. You understand? Now,
Furthermore, Gaddafi's leadership and his approach to governance had a polarizing effect on the people of Africa. While some hailed him as a revolutionary leader and a champion of African liberation, others criticized his authoritarian rule and human rights abuses. His suppression of dissent and crackdown on political opposition within Libya drew condemnation from human rights organizations and the international community. However, despite his controversial legacy, Gaddafi's influence on Africa cannot be denied. His vision for African unity and self-reliance continues to resonate with many on the continent of Africa, inspiring leaders and citizens alike to strive for a more united and prosperous Africa. Additionally, his economic initiatives and investment have left a tangible impact on the infrastructure and the development of numerous African nations. To conclude now, Muammar Gaddafi played a significant role in shaping the collective consciousness of Africa and its people. His Pan-African vision, economic initiative, and leadership style have left a lasting imprint on the continent of Africa, sparking debates and discussion about his legacy and the future of Africa. Whether viewed as a visionary or a dictator depends on you. Gaddafi's influence on Africa remains undeniable, reflecting the complexities of leadership and power in the region. Gaddafi might have not been an angel, but we can't deny the good things he did. And in the totality of reality, everything will make sense. I hope everything makes sense one day, So I'm gonna end the video here. If you find value in this video, if you find value in what I do, kindly do subscribe to the channel. I will so much appreciate. Otherwise, see you in the next video, and give me a super thanks. What else? Become a member of the channel and share the video with your friends and relatives to know about Gaddafi. He was really good to many of us Africans. See you in the next one.